Yeah, today we're going to do a little bit of a live coding build it style presentation where I'm gonna kind of walk you through what we call a Scratch file. Um, and we're going to do it with the guise of a holiday theme, since most of us are checking out pretty much today or tomorrow to be out of the office for the next week or so as we go through the rest of the holidays. So, welcome everyone to Mainspring's Office Hours, this December 2023 edition. My name is Mike Burgee. I'm the technical lead here at Mainspring, in charge of all the technical decisions and troubleshooting and all that great stuff that we do here. So, yeah, let's start off by talking about what a Scratch file is. Now, a Scratch file to me is something that I'm never going to host on FileMaker server. It's never going to go outside of my computer, and it's just something that I'm creating a FileMaker file for, so I can do some temporary things. So I might create a Scratch file to take a CSV file and import it and clean up the data and then dump that data out as an Excel file. Or I might create a Scratch file that is just some sort of thing I need to generate a bunch of labels from a mailing list that somebody sent over. So today we're going to create a Scratch file that is going to be used to generate PDF Christmas cards or holiday cards, or whichever. We can maybe switch between two, and we're just going to see where it goes for half an hour. And along the way, I'd like to show you some of what we use AI for as a developer tool. So again, Scratch files, just .fmp12 files, never get hosted, usually getting deleted right after you're done with them, or you can clear them out and maybe you'll have them around as an example that you can put in a folder somewhere and recall once a year every time you need that. So let's start off with data source. So one thing that we've used, ChatGPT is going to be the AI flavor of the day that we use today, specifically 3.5. But one thing that we've had good success with it is making sample data for us. So in order for us to make our card list, we're going to need a set of contacts, right? So that's something that we can use AI to very quickly generate. So I can say, create a sample list of contacts with first name, last name, email address, company name, and present that in a CSV format with column headers. So I'm going to write out something like that, and it's going to go ahead and generate exactly what I asked for. So a note on sample data is it's usually only going to do like 10 rows of it for you. But if you need more than that, you can just have it repeat the request and just keep copying out 10 rows at a time. So I'm just going to use my favorite text editor here. And maybe I should probably close that project first. So I'll do a new text file. I'll paste this in here, and I'm just going to save this on my desktop really quick as contacts.csv. Now, of course, FileMaker's got the great feature where you can just take a file and drag it and drop it, and it's going to convert it for you. So I'll go into my desktop here and just drag that contact CSV file on here. And now I'm going to save this to my desktop as contacts converted, or I might call it holiday card scratch or something like that. And then when it automatically brings up the import dialog because I dragged a non-FileMaker file. So I'm going to say this header row is field names, and it's going to create this new table for me for contacts. All right, So now I've, in less than a minute, I've generated some sample data. I've saved that as a CSV file, converted that CSV file simply to FileMaker data that I have here. So that's a good start. So next, let's talk about what we're going to do for cards itself. So we have first name here. So probably what we're going to do is we're going to create a new layout, and we're going to call this layout card. And then normally I describe what you're doing with that card, like printable, or maybe you'll have something that says labels or something. So just make sure that your layout is easy to understand what it's for. We're going to use a printer style view here as we're going through here, and I'm going to choose report, but I'm not going to choose any report fields. So I'm going to uncheck these boxes and skip that and skip that and skip that and skip that, and we'll create a script. Let's call that script print card or something like that, or PDF card, because we're going to use PDFs because I don't want to really run down my laser printer with these. All right, so that's given us basically an empty layout. So one thing we're going to do is we're going to we're going to show page breaks. And then we're going to make this like a single letter sized card. So you'll drag this down to there, and I'll say, okay. So now I'm within the boundaries of a card view. So this is pretty empty looking, but basically what I'm thinking of is maybe doing some sort of message in here. So I might do dear, and we want to make this customized. So we want to just put a merge field in here. So insert merge field, first name. And then this is another thing I can use ChatGPT for. So I can say, write a paragraph greeting that can go into a holiday card. That's a bit long. So I can say cut the length in half. All right, so I'm going to say something like that, and I can copy that right out of here and paste it in our layout here. All right, everybody with me so far? All right, now let's say we want to fancy this up a bit, so you can jump through FileMaker's font selections here. Marker felt's a little gross. I don't know why, like they used to have like a font preview here. So you can actually just open up, I just hit my little spotlight up here to open up my font book, and it's going to show me examples, and I can search through this for like a script font. So let's say Ford script. I like that. That looks all right. So I'll search Ford script in here, and maybe that's not great. So I'll blow up the font size. All right. And then if I really want to, I can put my name down there or whatever, or I could put a signature. You can do whatever you want with this layout. So another AI tool we might want to use is, so ChatGPT has a version of AI that can generate pictures for you. It's called DALL-E, DALL-E. Unfortunately, it's not free. So the regular prompted ChatGPT is free. Sometimes it gets a little slow if you don't, if there's a lot of usage, because basically you as a free user, you get deprioritized, which means that if somebody that's paying to use the AI computers is doing something resource intensive, your request will get shoved to the bottom. So every now and then on a busy day, you'll get a timeout message, or it'll be very slow to generate. But one thing that's not included is any of those DALL-E credits. So if you want to generate pictures with ChatGPT and OpenAI, then you're going to have to upgrade your plan. So I did find this other one though, that is called Pixart.com. That's a generator. So I'm going to say, describe a winter scene for a holiday card in 30 words or less. So I'm just going to take that description and I'm going to put it over here in this AI image generator. And I'm going to say that I want to generate a portrait size, and for they let you choose a style. So I'm going to choose, let's see, let's choose Monet, see what that does. I'm going to generate, and image generators usually take a little bit longer to generate, but there we go. So we've got winter scenes that were generated here. So I'm going to, let's say I like this one. So I'm going to open that up in FileMaker, and put a picture in here. It's just another insert. So you've got insert picture right here. I'm going to take my AI generated picture, and look, it's almost perfectly the same size that I need. So let me arrange that, right click, arrange, send back. And now that's there. And now I need to like just resize it so it won't be too far off if it's like that. All right. But maybe there's a little bit of an issue of visibility now. So now maybe I want to style this. So what I can do is I'm actually going to create another text box for this. It's just going to be an empty text box, and you're going to see what we're going to do here. If you look at the object inspector over here, I'm going to put that behind that deer card. And we're basically going to give this a solid color fill, but I'm going to say that we're going to do so with an opacity of, like, let's say 40%. And then in order to make that quite curved, I'm going to give it a corner radius as well, like a very large corner radius. And then I can maybe like flatten that out a little bit. So this is just a native FileMaker object that I'm tossing in here. You know, you could definitely like Photoshop your own background and merge the text in here and whatever. But for now, I've already got basically a card here, and I can see, because I'm in a list view here, here's all my cards. I'm actually going to change this to a form view. And now you can see that we scroll through. All right, so we got our card. Let's make our script for printing out that card. Now there's a number of things to do here, but basically, like, the easiest thing we can do is just save as PDF, save records as PDF, turn off the dialog, specify options. We want the current record. Specify an output file. Let's give that a variable so we can specify that. So I'm saying $file. I'm going to say automatically open as well. And then for that variable, let's say I want to put that in my desktop path. So I'm going to say file and get, if I can type today, desktop path. And let's say I want to say holiday card, and then I'm going to do last name, and then I'm going to do a dash, and then a first name, and then our file extension .pdf on the end. So this is concatenation. This is FileMaker's calculation engine. So I'm using a calculation to get the path to my desktop. I'm using a calculation of the last name, first name, and I'm concatenating in a prefix to the file name of holiday card underscore last name dash first name dot PDF. So when I actually run this script, it's going to save that out to my desktop and automatically open it up for me. So I'm going to save that and simply show you that if I toss that on a button really quick, and the best thing about Scratch files is you don't really need to worry about like styling or placement or alignment or stuff. Just do what you need it to do. So I'm going to hit PDF card, and there we go. So now I didn't take myself back to the original layout. That's normally something I would do. Go to layout as original layout. So just like that, you already have a script that can generate, you can see it here, holiday card underscore Clark dash Sarah. So if you generated a whole folder of these, let's say I want to generate them in a folder. So let's go holiday cards / holiday card. And then here where it says create folders, just turn that to on. And now if I delete some of this stuff, let's say I can delete all this stuff. That too. So I don't have anything on my desktop, so I'm going to generate this again. And this time on my desktop, you'll see it's now in a holiday cards folder. So why would I want to put it in a folder? Well, let's say we want to loop through and generate all of this at a time. So now this isn't PDF cards, but this is PDF cards, that's plural. So it's very easy to do. All we need to do is go to record first, go to the layout, and we'll do that first. And then we put this inside of a loop. So the only thing we need to add to the loop is exit loop if get record number, maybe get count. So I'm instructing myself to leave this loop after I'm on the last record. And then I need to tell it to go to the next record as well. Now there's this checkbox here, and this is a little tip that I'll throw out there. This can be today's tip. If you put exit after last on right here, it will exit the record on the last record, but it also throws an error code out at you, error code 101. So if you have something like this in your scheduled scripts or your server scripts where it's going to log that error 101, you're going to wind up with a ton of them in your log, and it's no fun. So this is why I always use exit loop if, but since this is a Scratch file, if you want to do things the easy way and just put this as on, that's totally fine. We can do that because we're throwing this file away at the end of the day. So that's it. Now, if I do PDF cards here, it's going to generate all 10 of those cards. Now I forgot to turn off open, obviously, so I'm just going to quit preview here. But now if I look at my desktop, I have a card named for each person in here. Pretty cool, huh? All right, so where would I go from here? So let's say that I want to also email these cards as attachments to people. And maybe I want to put a message in there as well. So we would just maybe duplicate this script and call this send PDF cards. And this time I don't want to save it on my file path. I'm just going to save it to temporary path instead. And I don't need a folder there. And the reason I'm going to use temporary path is because when I reboot my computer, it clears out my temporary folder. So I don't have to worry about going back and deleting those later. I don't wind up with, 3-year-old Christmas cards in my documents folder that's been aggregated there. And I don't have to worry about clearing it all out at all. So that's why I would normally do something like this, where I'm going to email something to there. So the PDF part of this is exactly the same. We're already done with that. So what are we going to do now? We're going to email. So I'm going to comment here that we want to email. But here's where there's an opportunity to do some good coding as well. And by good coding, I mean standardizing the emailing out of like your system. Now, this is something we normally do in regular hosted apps. And Scratch files, I probably just put send mail in here and forget about it and just deal with this. But if I'm sending, if I've got a contacts list of 5,000 people, I'm going to want an email method that's capable of handling 5,000 messages, and I'm not going to want it to open up 5,000 emails for me. Like right now, I've only got 10 records, so it's not a big deal. So the opportunity here is to send an email. So how we normally do that is we're going to set a parameter of some JSON, and JSON's the way that we transport around like a set of information from one place to another. And then I'm going to say perform another script. And that script we haven't created yet. So I'm going to create a script called send email. And then normally I'll put a some like square brackets around what sort of parameter I'm expecting. So I can say expects JSON parameter of emails send. Here's another tip of what I do. Anytime I take a parameter script, especially something that's going to have a structure like JSON, I'm going to create a sample variable and I'm going to comment that out. So that I always have a sample at the top of the script of what I'm looking for. Now, if you haven't used JSON parameters in FileMaker, it's really time to learn. If you're doing any sort of development, JSON is mandatory in this day and age of being a FileMaker developer. So go on YouTube, just search for FileMaker JSON, and there's DevCon recordings and training courses and all sorts of stuff on how to learn what I'm doing. I'm just going to kind of breeze through it quickly here. So in order to create JSON, we use JSON set element. I'm creating an object, so it's empty curly braces. And I'm going to start passing this a bunch of parameters. So I'm going to say 2, and that's going to be like the email address. And that's a string, which is just text. Then we'll do like subject. And the subject line is going to be like happy holidays from Mike. That's also just text, so JSON string. We're going to do an attachment in here, right? So we're going to pass our file path. That's why I do $file as a variable here. That's also a big long text string. And then we'll do a body. And normally I would do 2 separate things here, because normally in this day and age, we're not usually sending email with the FileMaker send mail script anymore. Now these days we're using APIs to send email. So you're using SendGrid or Mailgun or SMTP2Go. Those are 3 popular ones. AWS SES, Simple Email Service. So normally what you're doing is you're going to send both an HTML and a text version of your body, because not everybody's email client always parses HTML the right way. You can actually have like accessibility modes or something where they'll want a text version of the email. So you can actually send 2 versions of an email at the same time. But FileMaker's send mail script step only supports text there. So in here, in this example here, we can say something like, we can actually just paste our whole message that we had earlier. So dear, comma, and then I'm going to put a Pilcrow in there, which is just a line break, except this is HTML, so I'm actually going to use a break tag. And then I'm going to go back to my ChatGPT log, and I still have it. This shows you, it stores your whole, you can see all of your previous generations because it doesn't want you to have to regenerate the same thing over and over again. So it keeps your generations here. So I'm going to just paste this whole thing in here. And I've got 2 line breaks there. So that's 2 of my HTML break tags. One more break tag here, and then we can say like Burgie there. And again, this is a basic JSON string. So, all right. And then the text version of this, I'm just going to copy this whole thing. And instead of break tags, we just use this Pilcrow character right here. I'm going to put 2 breaks in there and 2 breaks there and a break there. Again. So remember the last parameter, when you're passing multiple parameters to JSON, like I'm doing here, every line gets a semicolon at the end, except for the last line. So so I've already done the work here. I'm just doing this as my example here, but since I've already done it as my sample, now I can take that and just go back to my send PDF cards. And now we have new script. I'm going to pass it a parameter of the email that we want to send. And then this email now becomes that JSON. So there's the contact's email address, there's the subject, attachment, HTML, text, etc. All right. So now I didn't save that, did I? Do that while it's still on my clipboard. All right. So now I'm putting the email together, and now I am sending that email to one place. And the send mail script step is always going to do the same thing. It doesn't care what the contents of the email are. It's just going to like get that for me. So let's say, so we're going to recreate that email parameter from get script parameter, because most FileMaker functions are just logic, easy to read. Get script parameter is the parameter we're receiving from when we run the script. So I'm taking that there. Send email with or without attachment. So I can do something like attachment and say JSON get element. So the opposite of JSON set element is JSON get element. So when we need to get our values back out, because all of our values are together in one place, JSON get element out of email, and we want our attachment. So now if not is empty, attachment else. So in here, I'm just going to use simple send mail things, but normally this would be where we put an API integration. I'm going to say send with dialog on. This is the one with the attachments. So we're just going to put attachment in here. And then for all of these, we can just do calculations. JSON get element, email, and let's say we want the text version here because we're using the send mail script step. So I can just copy and paste that and change this to what I need. So there's my to address, my subject line, that email client, and attachment. And then to account for emails without attachments, all I have to do is come in, is copy that script step and remove the attachment from the second one. So this is it. This is advanced level coding in the guise of a very simple Christmas card list. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. I'm going to omit a record. Then I'm going to delete the other 9 records that I have. So I only have one. I'm just going to change this to be me. All right. And this is still PDF cards, so maybe I'll create another button that does, we'll call this send cards instead. All right. So this would be a good time to introduce the debugger into the equation. The debugger is what we use because we don't want to just press play and hope that everything went great. Um, so we're going to press send cards, and then we're going to use the debugger to walk through everything here. So go to browse mode. Here's that file, and I can use the data viewer in conjunction with this to see where that file is going to go. So this is my temporary folder. So this is what's returned by get temporary folder, this right here. So we'll save that. It opened it up, but let me go back to FileMaker because I still forgot to turn off. So I'll set an email, and if I look, here's my JSON data. Here's another tip. If your JSON comes in like this, you can do a couple different things. So I'm going to do this in FileMaker. There's a function called JSON format elements, and that gives it to you like this. So you can kind of see it's all broken out. But the other thing you can do, I use a site called JSONEditorOnline.org. You can paste your ugly JSON in there and just hit the right side, and it cleans it up into a tree structure for you. So this type of site is very useful when you're dealing with nested data because you can drill down into arrays of records. So you can put your entire found set of data, like the sample data, you can put this into JSON because JSON's a format that is designed to carry that. All right. So back in our script, which is still going on here. So that email looks okay to me. So I'm going to proceed. It goes into here and it sees that there's an attachment. So now it's going to open up my email. You do have to allow the security for the first time, like if you're on a Mac. So here we go. So it's sending to my email address. It's got a subject line. It's got all the line breaks in here with that message, and it's got that PDF attached to it. So all I would have to do from here is hit send. When you use the email client, there isn't a way for it to automatically send it for you. So you would want to use a different way to send emails. So I'll continue debugging my script. I'll make sure that it ended and it goes back to the original layout. So great. So that's pretty much a completed file in here. Now, where would you go from here? So again, you would improve methodology here. So maybe you don't want to send by email client. Maybe you want to send with SMTP. So SMTP is kind of on its way out because it's not as secure as something like OAuth. So, but it still exists in FileMaker today, and you can still get SMTP emails from like API providers like SMTP2Go, like I mentioned before. We'll give you SMTP credentials. Normally, it comes with a plain password, username and password. You can put those in there. The other thing that FileMaker just recently introduced support for, which is great, is doing OAuth right here. So you can actually authenticate with OAuth information here. This setting up this dialog for OAuth is it's an office hours all in its own on how you deal with this authentication. If you're interested in using this, then there's already resources, blog posts, that type of things, or you can reach out to us and we'll set up a private office hours for you where we can work through that. The other thing you would be doing here would be preparing other parameters. Like normally we'd do a parameter called curl, and then we do insert from URL. And this is how you would call an API. So we would say that this was $result, gives us a variable with our result. We would have some sort of API URL here, and we would pass our email contents as part of this curl options here. So that's how you can the important thing now, though, is if you do this in a very large file where you're sending emails from not just this send PDF card script, but I can take these 2 script steps now and take them anywhere in my system and send an email. So it makes it very easy. It's portable, it's modular, whatever you want to call it. This is the correct way to do things, because it's not anymore. It's not really any extra script steps than just putting this stuff together here. What is it, like 5 or 10 extra script steps? But it gives you all of the benefits of like centralizing in one place, so that if something breaks or if a password changes or something, you just have to go to one place to update it. You don't have to go to figure out everywhere the system's sending emails. All right. How are we doing on questions, Brian? I haven't seen the screen in a while. Suppose I should open that up. I also
no questions right now.
All right. So yeah, I saw the chat too. And
yeah,
someone is typing a comment. So yeah, that's really what I wanted to present today. It's showing you just how easy it is to put together one of these Scratch files to do something like this. So I'm a bit on the advanced side, so I can do this in under an hour. But if you were making your own holiday cards or labels or something, you could very easily put together a Scratch file like this for yourself to do whatever you need to do. So yeah, it's a pretty cool thing. All right, rookie questions, intellectual property concerns with using code like ChatGPT. Yeah, don't ever put anything into ChatGPT that you don't want everybody on the internet to know. So in terms of ownership over code, copying and pasting something out of here is like the code that ChatGPT generates isn't necessarily identifiable. So it's pretty much considered the same thing as copying it off of an example you found on Stack Overflow or somewhere else. So like when we do website development, we use a design library called Flowbyte. And Flowbyte is just gives us things for like a web table. So this is what a web table looks like. It's got, dark mode compatibility, and it has this code that's already generated for me that I can just copy and start using. So it's the same type of thing with ChatGPT. But again, you don't want to say like, can you find my social SSN like I'm not going to go into the rest of that, but to see if you don't want to put passwords in ChatGPT, you don't want to put personal information. You want to keep it just as anonymous as possible. But the more descriptive you are, the better the output's going to be. And then again, there are so this ChatGPT is what's called an LLM, language learning model, which is basically you interact with it through typed commands. It's not an image generator. It's not a video generator. You're only sending in text and receiving text responses. So if you think about that, like there's going to be opportunities for setting up your own LLM models in the future. So you don't always have to use ChatGPT. You can probably run your own server with your own AI and your own proprietary information so that it is safe to use private information like that. Companies are already doing that with the ChatGPT model. OpenAI sells like a commercial plan where it's your own private version of it, where it's not saved. But the benefit that you're getting by using the OpenAI ChatGPT is that millions of people have now asked billions of questions in here, and the AI has just gotten pretty good in terms of its responsive. Obviously, it's very fast in generating a sample code or sample data for us to use, and fairly well written descriptions and messages as well. So Yeah. So for the generic vanilla stuff, like what we've done here, it's done that. So in terms of integrating ChatGPT with FileMaker, I would, if I was you, I would wait within 3 months and see what Claris comes up with, because they've talked about that maybe on the horizon they're going to have some sort of integrations. I can't speak to any more than that, but they have mentioned that in the past that they are, considering it, and it's, I know, something Apple wants to be a part of too. So it makes sense that they would introduce something. Can you integrate with Open? Yeah, you can integrate now. There's an API for ChatGPT where basically you make a request with, instead of typing in here, you make a request with your message. The problem with that in FileMaker is when you make a single request, API, like AI responses take time to write, because remember, when you were watching this, it was typing out the response. So if that typed out response takes longer than FileMaker's waiting around for, which is 30 seconds or a minute or something, you might not receive a response back to your request. So that's that goes into more complicated AI integrations with promises and asynchronous requests, where basically like you're checking on it to see if it's finished writing yet. And there's not great examples I can go into. It's possible in FileMaker. You basically make one call that starts your request, and then you make subsequent calls in a loop with that request ID to see if it's done yet. Or you make all of your API requests through a web viewer, which is also something you can do natively in FileMaker. So that's beyond the scope of the next 3 minutes of or so of things. All right. Any other questions? Request a template of FileMaker. Copy and paste. No. Because FileMaker's script format is in an XML base. So there are some people that have done stuff with that, but it's a lot easier to just write a FileMaker script at this point of time than copy that. Because again, there's like, let me see, if I copy all this right now and I use, what is it, base elements, clipboard, get text. I think base elements has the ability to get this. Functions, clipboard, get text. Let's try that. I'm going to monitor that, and I'm going to copy this again. So this is what it looks like. So you would have to generate this code. You would have to generate this XML code, but ChatGPT doesn't have the knowledge of this file formatting specifically to make that into a script. And also, you would still need a clipboard manipulator, because when you copy this, it doesn't copy it as an XML object, it copies it as text. So if you try to paste this into your calculation engine, it'll do it, it won't work. It'll be like a comment or everything. So you need a clipboard manipulator, like this other base elements function, where it's clipboard set text. So you need to use like this function to turn your text back into something that manipulates your keyboard to where it can be pasted into a FileMaker script. So yeah, when you take all that into consideration, just learning how to script well is, I mean, FileMaker's got autocomplete. You've got developer utilities that allow you to search your scripts and highlight things. Yeah, so there's I wouldn't be doing that with with AI. Tony saying we're safe for now, but the joke with developers is clients would need to figure out what they wanted to ask for. So we've got a long time before um, before AI is going to replace us as developers, I think. Yeah. But for simple things, for proofreading text, for you can even do some like advanced proofreading. So you could say like proofread this text and give me a score between 1 to 10 for how well it's written, and then it would proofread the text and also give you that score. So there's cool stuff that you can do with it. But as a developer utility, it might be better for some JavaScript. But again, you need to like I'll create a new one here. Create a JavaScript function that filters out all instances, or let's say replaces all instances of the word Christmas with holiday. So it'll actually write code for you, but FileMaker is not really a coding platform. But you can use this and it shows you how to do this, and it even has a test mode with console logging here for you. But you have to know, like, you can't just copy and paste this code somewhere. You have to know how to use it. So in FileMaker, you know, like we can put this in the web viewer and use this in the web viewer and then return the result to FileMaker. But you need to know how to set that up, basically, how to create that little framework, which is not very hard to do. But yeah, Merry holidays and happy holidays. So this is good for learning possibly things that aren't FileMaker, especially the JavaScript and CSS. So I could do how do you create a 3-column grid view in Tailwind CSS. So it's pretty good for this type of thing, where it's going to give you documentation on the fly for developer things, but you still have to know what it is you want to ask, if that makes sense. But that's honestly probably faster than me going to Tailwind's documentation to look that up. All right. Anybody have anything else to ask before we wrap up? We're going to let people go 10 minutes early. So you can start enjoying your holidays. I see Austin's typing, but I think he's been typing. Alex Miller. Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully everybody had a good time today. A little bit of a closing announcement. We will be continuing office hours in 2024, but in January, we are going to try out a new format for office hours. We're partnering up with Matt Navarre, who might have been on this call for a while. I don't know if he's still there, but we're going to see how it goes. We're going to do a bit of a kind of like an interview style, off the cuff type of office hours, and we'll see how it goes. So hopefully everybody here will join us for January, and we'll see you then. Enjoy the holidays and Happy New Year, since we won't see you before then. All right, take care, everyone.
Great. Thank you much, Mike.